Well, guys, I've been online now for about 15 years, I think that it is. And during that time, I have read tens of thousands of comments. And I have gotten a lot of comments that are pretty much the exact same comment multiple times. And I got one of those this morning on my video I posted over on my other YouTube channel at The View from Appalachia. Go check it out and subscribe to that channel. I've gotten this comment, like I said, multiple times over the years. And it seems like about every few weeks someone will post a similar comment, and a lot of times it's just about word for word. And the comment usually goes something like this: don't be fearful, don't be afraid. I hate to see you so horrified about the future, because God is in control. You have to trust God. I don't prepare because God is in control. And these people that post that apparently completely forget about what they've read in the Bible. They completely forget about history and everything that's happened in the past and that's happening now and will happen in the future. It's like they completely forget about all that. And they also forget about, apparently, the fact that humans have free will. God doesn't control what goes on. He gives us free will. He gives everyone else free will. And Satan will use that free will and our inherent greed, envy, lust, gluttony, all the major sins and all of our desires and wants. He will use those against us and everyone else to make as much misery as possible. And that's why we see everything that goes on in the world. But God doesn't want drones. He wants us to have free will. He wants us to do the right thing because we want to. He wants us to come to Him and worship Him because we want to. He wants us to tell the truth, to not steal, to not kill, to not do all kinds of sinful things because we want to. But we have the free will to do so, if that's what we choose to do. And not only do we have free will, everyone else has free will also. And a lot of these other people, even if you're a good person and you want to do right, a lot of other people don't. A lot of other people are evil. And a lot of people in power have been put in power simply because they're evil. And they will use that free will, they will use their position of power to make the world a miserable place to live. And that's what we see a lot now. It's amazing to me that so many people will post the exact same comment about God is in control, but they don't realize, apparently, they just forget about all the suffering that's happened in the past, all the famines and starvation, all the actual pandemics, human sacrifice, child molestation. I mean, the lies, the envy, the murder, the torture, the disease, the war. And it's like, if these people completely forget about all of that, and they will say God is in control, so I'm not going to prep because God's in control. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, just look at history, like I said. It's full of examples of misery, of torment, of all kinds of horrible things that's happened to everyone, including Christians, children. Jesus Christ was crucified. John the Baptist was beheaded. I mean, all through the Bible, you can look at people who were really close to God, people who walked with Jesus Christ here on earth, that met horrible deaths. So to think that you don't need to prepare, don't need to do anything because God is in control, just isn't logical to me. God gives us a brain. He gives us the ability to think, the ability to reason, and also we've had the ability to write down history and to learn from our mistakes, to learn from history. But apparently a lot of people haven't learned from history because they still go about like nothing's going to ever happen. And the only thing they think they need is to come out on prepping videos and say, I don't prepare because God's in control. Or I'm not going to prepare because I have faith in God. that's not the way it works. God gives us a brain to know what to do. God gives us a brain to be able to look at the past, to look at history, to see what's happened, to look at what's happening now, and use that logic to figure out what's going to happen in the future. But still yet, people won't prepare. And I think a lot of it is that they're lazy and they're looking for any excuse to not do anything. So their excuse and the reasoning they've put in their own mind, the reasoning that they came up with as to why they won't actually prep or do anything themselves, is that God is in control. It doesn't matter what I do, God's going to control, and it's going to happen anyway. And to a certain point, that's correct. You look at the book of Revelation, it shows a lot of suffering and a lot of death. So just reading the book of Revelation should make you want to prepare even harder, reading that. But people still don't. God's in control. And when bad times come, if I get hungry, God will bring me a Big Mac or a pizza or a Diet Coke or something to drink and to eat. He'll just bring it to me and hand it to me. I didn't have to do anything to go get it or anything like that. I didn't have to stockpile anything, didn't have to use common sense. Because if I do that, then it shows God don't have no faith in Him. When God gives you a brain to actually do something. I don't understand the logic. I really don't. How can you look at all of human history and just common sense and what's happened today and not think that there's a need to prepare? It doesn't make any sense. The excuse that God is in control doesn't make any sense at all, because God gives us free will. God doesn't control the human population. That's why you have abortion by the millions. That's why you have all kinds of perversion. That's why you have everything that's going on right now. If you haven't noticed, the world is very, very evil and it's completely lost their moral compass. And if you go around telling some people who don't understand what's actually going on, if you go around saying God's in control, these other people hearing you say that's going to say, they're going to look around and say, if God's in control, He's not doing a good job at all. Because like I said, free will. People use their free will. I have a free will, you have a free will, everyone else has a free will also. And they will use that to satisfy their lust, their greed, their envy, their anger. They will use that usually for the bad. And you have millions upon millions of people that are like that, trying to gain power, control, trying to gain wealth, no matter who they hurt, who they kill. People trying to gain power through Satanism, sacrifice. I mean, if you look back at the Aztecs, they use human sacrifice a lot to their gods. And what kind of God would want human sacrifice besides Satan, the evil god? But they thought it was, a good God. They thought they would have sacrifice to show that they were serious. They were making this sacrifice to have good crops, to have blessings and things. I'm not an expert on Mayan history, but I know they had a lot of human sacrifice. It was big in their religion. And it's been that way all throughout history. Free will. Do you think those people wanted to be sacrificed? No, they didn't. But their other people's free will and their evil made them sacrifice these other people, even though they didn't want to be sacrificed, including child sacrifice. When you just think of all the real pandemics that there's been, all the sickness and death, all the evil, and for someone to be able to come out and with a straight face say, I don't worry about anything because God's in control. Completely forget history. They completely forget logic. Because if you look, like I said, at history and all the misery and the suffering and the war and the disease, and it's not just been people who didn't follow God. A lot of Christians have suffered also. They've been persecuted. They've been imprisoned. They've been enslaved. They have suffered disease. They have suffered starvation. They have suffered pandemics, torture, murder. They've been sacrificed. They've been beheaded. They've been crucified. It doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you want to prepare to do the best you can? Why wouldn't you want to use the brain that God gave you And you know deep down that you need to prepare. But like I said, people are lazy and they're looking for an excuse. And using God as a crutch as to why they won't do something is their excuse. It justifies it in their own mind, unfortunately. I don't get it, guys. If you can explain this logic to me, put it in the comments below, because I don't really understand it at all. Because I know people have free will. God could take over 100%. God could control everything. He could make everyone into a drone, pretty much. It's what it would be. You had no free will. You couldn't do anything that God didn't want you to do. You had no free will whatsoever. But God does not want that. That's obvious. God wants you to have free will because He wants you to come to Him with free will. He wants you to do good because you want to, not because you are made to. And a lot of people don't do good with their free will like God wants them to. But you have that free will to do that. So if you have everyone with free will that God's not controlling, then no, God isn't in control. He could be if He wanted to be, but that's not the way that it works. And that's why we have all the evil and everything we see going on. So you need to get prepared. You need to get ready. And with everything going on, you need to be a little fearful, actually. Because like I said, look at history. Just being a Christian doesn't offer you protection in this world. It rains on the just and the unjust alike. People suffer regardless of their spiritual beliefs. If anything, God has looked at us and said, these people are evil. They are lustful. They are greedy. They are sinful. They're full of hate. They're full of sin. So I'm going to turn these people over to Satan for a while and let him rule this earth and just let them suffer a little bit here on earth. That's what it seems like to me. I'm not saying that's what happened. A lot of people say that's what happened. I don't know. But we definitely suffer here on earth a lot. And it's going to get much, much worse, unfortunately. And if you can't see that, and your only prep is God's in control, you're going to be in bad shape here very shortly, unfortunately, in my opinion. Pray, but also prepare. Use your brain, use common sense, use logic, and realize that God doesn't control the people of this earth. We have free will, and this earth is inherently evil. He gives us free will because He wants us to come to Him willingly. He wants us to not sin willingly. He wants us to not lie, steal, cheat, be lustful, greedy, because we want to, we choose to, because we want to worship the Father. He doesn't want drones without free will. And anytime you have humans with lust, greed, gluttony, anger, envy, all kinds of the 7 deadly sins, and those people have free will, and they want power and control over others, it's going to be like what it is now. Evilness. Evilness. Anyways, I thought I'd make this video. I didn't really have bullet points or anything like that for this video. I do sometimes. Most of the videos I don't. I just start talking and whatever comes out, comes out. Sometimes if it's like 10 things or whatever, I will have bullet points. I won't forget what I'm trying to talk about, keep them in order. But for most videos, they're like this video here, I just make the video. I get one thought in my mind, and I just get the camera right here and start talking. And whatever comes out, comes out. So it's definitely from the heart. And it was my free will to make this video. Free will. I could have chose to stay in the house, in the air conditioning. I could have chose to do anything this evening. I could have went for a walk. I could have went fishing. I could stand up and jump off these steps right here down about 8 foot down to the ground there and sprain my ankle or break my leg if I wanted to. Free will. But I got enough sense to not do that. You could go out and wait for a car to come down the road, jump out in front of it if you wanted to. You can do whatever you want to do because you have free will. And God wants you to do the right thing, and He gave us free will to do that right thing. He wants us to do the right thing. He wants us to come to Him willingly, like I said, and do the right things. Because you want to, because you have free will. If God didn't give us free will, and we couldn't make our own decisions, and we was forced to do what God wanted, forced to worship, He don't want that. He wants people to worship and do the right thing freely because they want to. People have free will, but unfortunately, that free will also makes people do a lot of evil things. If you have a lot of people in the world being manipulated, being controlled by outside forces through the media, through politicians, through psychological techniques to do certain things, and you have just evilness all over because people have free will and they don't want to follow teachings of the Lord, they don't want to worship, and those people will suffer in the end. But they can also make everyone else that's here suffer too, because you have people who want to do evil things. You have people that are in power, not just presidents and people like that. I'm talking about people that's really in power, people that's really controlling things behind the scenes, and they want to make everyone as miserable as they possibly can, because I think they live off of the misery makes these people happy, it seems, because they want to cause as much misery as possible, and I think they actually feed the evil, feeds off of the misery of people. And I think that's what Satan does, or these demonic forces, however you want to look at it, there's evil, and I think that evil feeds off of misery. And those forces use people's free will, and then they think they're doing what makes them happy, but in the end, it makes more misery. Just try to do the right thing. Do the right thing. Try to be a good person. Worship God because you want to. Come to Jesus Christ because you want to, not because you think you have to, because you don't have to. You need to do it because you want to. You want to do the right thing because you want to, but know that not everyone else is going to do that. And you may suffer because of that. And just things happen in general. Like I said, war, famine, pandemic. And most of these things was caused by bad decisions or evil decisions to cause wars and pandemics and strife and everything. I hear a car coming through. Maybe a truck. Anyway, like I said, I had nothing planned for this video, and I'm starting to ramble on now. So I'm going to cut this video off. I've said what I wanted to say about this since I heard this comment so many times. Talk about free will. Talk about the fact you need to prepare. You need to get ready because God gives us free will to do that, and gives us enough sense to know we need to do that. But He also gives everyone else free will also, and they will use that free will. And as a whole, the population of the earth seems to be mostly evil right now, and that brings a lot of evil on everyone else, even people who are trying to do the correct things. So you need to prepare, you need to get ready, you actually need to get ready to defend yourself, in my opinion. Also, that means guns, ammunition, skills, food, water, just general preparedness, and get ready because hard times are coming, and God's giving you a warning to prepare. You know He is, and He gives you the free will to prepare. And if you don't heed that warning and don't use your free will to get prepared, then you're going to suffer in the end, in my opinion. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'm the Creekmore Matter, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.